Democrat and Chronicle. Story by David Andriata. Dated August 2nd, 2016. Andriata. Penfield judge rejected Delouse case. Penfield judge John P. Lomenzo Jr. Monday wasn't the first time that Daniel Delouse III was arrested for allegedly attempting to lure children into his car in Penfield. The first time was July 21, just hours after he was said to have offered candy to two children playing outside residences on Armentel Lusser from inside his white Jeep. Delouse was taken into custody that night after Monroe County Sheriff's deputies collected statements from children and parents who claimed to have encountered him and procured footage from a home security camera that showed his Jeep circling the neighborhood. He was taken to Penfield Town Court for arraignment too. But when Delouse was presented to Judge John Lomenzo, the judge refused to arraign him. Quote, the papers they presented were defective, end quote, Lomenzo said in an interview Tuesday. Quote, they identified the car by the license plate, but they didn't identify who was driving the car. From my standpoint, it could have been the man in the moon, end quote. Deputies had no choice but to let Delouse go. That left Maria Cortez, the mother of one of the children allegedly approached by Delouse, and the person who first called police, with no choice but to keep her child mostly indoors. A social media campaign warning of a white man in a Jeep went viral, and parts of Penfield were plastered with flyers depicting photos of the Jeep. The anxiety lasted 11 days until Delouse was arrested and arraigned again Monday in East Rochester Town Court on misdemeanor child endangerment and stalking charges, and orders of protection were issued for the children. The delay in venue of Delouse's court proceeding has prompted questions for Cortez and other residents in her neighborhood. Among them, why did it take so long to get Delouse to court and to get protection orders? Why did this matter end up in East Rochester? Quote, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I have to live worrying about this, end quote, Cortez said. Am I reaching with these questions, end quote? No. Any parent whose child was approached by a strange man offering candy is entitled to ask us questions. And they are all more pertinent given the pedigree of the suspect. Dane Delouse Jr., the suspect's father, is an influential man in Monroe County. If you don't know who he is, chances are his work has touched your life. A lawyer by profession, Delouse was a key advisor to County Executive Maggie Brooks, first as county attorney and later as deputy county executive. Today, he is general counsel for the region's public transit agency and chairs the zoning board in Penfield, where he lives with his wife and three children, including 20-year-old Daniel. Delouse moves in the tightly knit Republican circles that run the county in most of its towns. It's hard to imagine that he's not rubbed elbows over the Penfield's two town justices who ran for the court as Republicans. That does not automatically disqualify the court from handling the Delouse case, although one of the justices, James Mully Jr., has recused himself, nor should it imply anything untoward to the case thus far. But it does allow for the questions Cortez and others are asking, which is rare for a judge to refuse an arraignment, which is a formal reading of the charges facing the defendant. Quote, I agree it's very unusual, end quote, Lomenzo said, but it's my job as a judge to simply not rubber stamp what the police and prosecutors bring to me, end quote. Reached by phone, Delouse Jr. declined to discuss his son's criminal charges and hung up. Corporal John Helfer, spokesman of the sheriff's office, said deputies felt that a strong case against Delouse to arrest him on July 21st. They had physical descriptions of the suspect, a male with brown hair in his early 20s, and had traced his car. After the case was diffused, though, investigators got to work solidifying the identification of the driver. That work included asking witnesses to choose the man they believed they encountered from photos the sheriff's office had on file. The witnesses fingered Delouse. Helfer said Delouse was arrested and arraigned in East Rochester on Monday because the court there was in session and had a reciprocal agreement with Penfield Town Court to handle cases when the other is closed. The case has since been returned to Penfield, and Delouse is scheduled to appear at 11 a.m. August 10th before Lomenzo. Lomenzo said he knows Delouse Jr., but that he had no reason to recuse himself. Quote, I won't because, frankly, I don't have any relationship with Dan Delouse, he said. It's a legitimate question to ask, Lomenzo added. I'm not troubled by the fact that people might be concerned, end quote. Cortez was almost apologetic in asking about such matters and said, I just want to make sure that everybody's being above board, end quote. She has every right to want that and every right to expect it. John P. Lomenzo Jr. is a pedophile protection racket for Daniel Delouse III because he knows Daniel Delouse II.